What's up guys, Skottyy here from the Blue Coconut family and welcome back to another City Skylines tutorial. Today we're going to be continuing our look at the base game and its emergency services, but today we're going to be looking at the fire service. In the last episodes we looked at the prison service and also the police department. So today we're going to be looking at the fire department, arguably one of the most important ones out there because fire is very dangerous and it's very hard to control for yourself. The game adds many different things to the game has added in many different buildings and services to help with fire control, and certain DLCs have also added certain elements into that. I've covered a little bit of that in the past with the forest fire, and I'll touch on that just a little bit in this video, but if you want to get the full thing, go back and have a look at that. I'll add a card in right now. But yeah, it's a very good thing, and that they've added in multiple things because it does really help the city. So the first thing we're going to look at is there's two types of fire stations. Now you can find all the fire stuff down here in the emergency services tab. Now that is quite confusing for me, and I'm sure it is for you as well, because I would consider both the ambulance service and the police department as emergency services as well, but for some reason they've just considered the fire department as an emergency service. I wonder if that's if you live in the United States or even somewhere in like maybe mainland Europe, please comment below. Is this something you consider? So do you consider only the fire department as something that is an emergency service, or do you consider your police and your ambulance service as well as emergency service? I'd love to know, because here in the UK we we consider all three as emergency services, but we also have other emergency services as well on the phone number. Okay, so under this emergency service tab we've got these 6 buildings for use. So these first 2 are the fire stations. Well, I say I've got 6. These 2 here are workshop items, sorry. So you have 4 in your menu, sorry. These 2 I've added in workshop. These are UK fire stations, so these are the sort of style what we would have in the UK. I've added these in for cosmetic effects on some of my other maps where I've kind of gone for a more UK look to my cities. So it's these 4 we're going to be looking at. Now these 2 here are the actual fire stations themselves. So you've got a firehouse and you've got a fire station. Now I would call them both fire stations, because in the UK, doesn't matter what size it is, they're both fire stations. Then you have the fire helicopter depot, and then you've got the fire watchtower, or the fire watchtower. For some reason that's all one word. Is that normal? But hey ho, it is in this game. So we'll have a look at these 2 fire stations here. So the firehouse is obviously naturally the smaller one, and it's the one you get quite early on in the game if you're playing this without everything unlocked. It says on the screen there that the fire engine capacity is 6, which is okay. That's quite good for a small town or such, and that'll help keep you fairly safe. But its reach isn't as far, so you'll see when I place this down that it doesn't make the roads go green for much distance before it runs out. And what that means here is that your fire engines are less likely to get there quickly if there is a fire breaking out on a road that isn't green. So it's down payment of 12,000 and its upkeep is 560 a month. Sorry, 560 a week. So it makes it a very quite affordable little firehouse there. If we move on to the fire station here, the fire station is very useful. Have a fire engine capacity of 25, so already a massive increase over the 6. That's huge, absolutely massive increase there. It does have a higher down payment though of 60,000, and the upkeep is quite considerably more steep at 1,440 a week. So it's very expensive to maintain, but that reaches a lot further and it is much more suited to large city areas. So it's very good. So when would you use these? So similar to the police department with the 2 types of buildings, large station I would put into a large city where you've got many complex roads and it's quite large, because it covers a larger area and has more capacity of fire engines be able to cope for the large cities. Whereas the small firehouses, partially down to the aesthetic of the building, but also down to the reach, is a lot more suited to kind of your more rural areas and kind of out of town potential industrial areas where it isn't as large, it doesn't need the reach, and there might not be as many buildings, so that'd be perfect for it because it is a little bit cheaper, so you don't really want to have overcapacity unless you can afford it with the fire station. So for example here, so I've got my large city here, so this bit of city here is well covered with my fire here, so I've actually got 3 stations with a small station there, and 2 large stations in the middle, and that's covering quite well. It's all blue. Over here I do have only a small station. I've got actually the UK one, and you can see here that the green reach is not very far, so that's not great at all. So I'm actually going to place down a large fire station in here, and you'll see already that once it catches up and turns on, that the green reach is very far, and most of my town over in that area turns blue, to show me that if it needed, a fire engine can get there fairly promptly. So over to this little bit of city here. So this is quite a large region here, so I am going to place down a large one. Now you can see there, as I go to place down the fire station, the roads go green around it. Now that shows you exactly what reach it's going to do. So if I place it over here, you can see that area down on the right hand side isn't that green. It will get there, but it's not great. So you might want to place it more centrally. Likewise also, if I place it over here, you can see that left hand little kind of suburb is basically all grey, so it isn't going to reach. But if I place it down in the middle, you can see that both sides are appearing lovely and green. So if I place there, it's going to make the whole region very happy, and means that the coverage is perfect. Now you can see here I do have my industrial area over here, which at the moment is not very well protected. Now for some reason these ones are showing up as blue. It's potentially because they've got a fire watchtower here, but I want to have a better reach, so I'm going to place down some fire stations. So I'm going to place one here. That should cover that area nicely, so if these ever have a fire, that helps with that. And I'm going to place one of these down in here, so that helps cover all of that region. So you can see already there that that area has gone nice and blue. Now my farming area, that's pretty serious at the moment, so I'm going to place down a nice little fire station there to help cover my farming area. This side is still red, but hopefully the lack of kind of buildings in that region will mean that the fire engine is able to travel, and so it is actually well protected and well covered. So that's pretty much it for the fire, for the stations. So let's move on to quickly touch upon these two. So these came in the natural disasters DLC. So if you don't have that, you won't have these buildings. Now you can see around, as well as my buildings that have kind of the blue around them, you also have all the trees. Most of the area around my city are showing up as blue. That means that the area is protected with fire watchtowers, and meaning that someone is keeping an eye on it for forest fires, and that means that the helicopters for firefighting are able to be dispatched, meaning that if we do ever have a forest fire, it can be dealt with quickly. So they go hand in hand. So let's have a look at the watchtower. So watchtower is literally that. It's a small little wooden tower that has a large radius around it. That means any tree in that radius is able to be covered for fire watching. So for example, this area here, actually let's have a look up here. So this is so I do have 2 fire watchtowers in my little district here, so that covers both sides, but let's place, we'll go back to this first region. So we're going to place a little watchtower. Now this is affected by line of sight, so if you place it behind a mountain, it's not going to cover the other side of the mountain. So it's worth noting that. But if I place it there, you'll see that all these trees in this region where that area was connected will turn blue, so that it shows that this area is now protected by a watchtower, meaning that if there is a forest fire, they're able to dispatch a firefighting helicopter to it to be able to put the fire out. Now onto the firefighting helicopters. So this is the depot for those. Now I've got several buildings over here. This is like my main depot area. So each building contains 3 firefighting helicopters, and when a firefighting helicopter is dispatched, similar to how we can see here, we've actually got one here because we've got a forest fire at the moment. Might as well worth noting that building fires can also set forests on fire. So if there's a building which is on fire next to a tree, it will set the tree on fire, and of course then that will spread. That's exactly what happens here, so keep an eye on your industrial areas for that. Each building contains 3 helicopters, and when a helicopter is dispatched, it has to go collect water from a river, a lake, or even the ocean. So it has to go and collect water. It doesn't matter what water it is, it doesn't matter if it's polluted or not, it just has to go find a water source. It goes, picks it up, and goes then flies to the area in question, so we can see that in example here, and dumps water directly onto the fire. And then once all the water is used up, it will then return either back to the depot if the fire is under control, or it will fly back to a water source to go and collect some water. So yeah, that's nice to be able to see that in action. I was going to set my own fire, but the game did it for me. Also worth noting as well, people, is when there is a severe forest fire like this within a built-up area, if the tree, similar to how a building passes the fire onto the trees can also set buildings on fire. Now, helicopters cannot put out building fires, and fire engines cannot put out forest fires. So you can find very quickly in the game that if you do not have the helicopters and your building set trees on fire, you can be severely out of control with a forest fire, very, very quickly. And likewise, if you have a forest fire which goes out of control and it gets close to your city, then you can have a whole city fire and burn down your entire city, and that's not good at all. So definitely something worth noting and to keep an eye on. But yeah, so I'm going to let my fire department keep this all under control, because yeah, this is quite bad. But we do have the helicopters on use. The blackness on the ground when you do have a forest fire does slowly fade, so it goes from the black back to this kind of like browny colour, and then over time the trees will actually come back. So the trees aren't gone, they've just been kind of burnt shells, and over time they will just come back naturally by themselves and regrow. So we can see this bit of the city is now all out, so it's just this outer region. So it does take a long time. Don't expect your helicopters to put the fire out pretty much straight away. It does take a lot of time, so definitely worth noting. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If this has been really useful for you, hit that like button, and also big thumbs up to our fire departments around the world. They've done amazing work in all situations. But yeah, also you guys, you know what to do. I've been Skotyyy from the Blue Coconut family. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. So long.